So my first question is, what's your first name and your age?
Megan, and I'm 26 years old.
Okay. And what do you spend the majority of your time doing? Not just your work or occupation, but how do you spend the time of your life?
Dancing is like my central, and being mommy, because that doesn't stop either.
Wonderful. And how old is your people that you're a mommy to?
She's 4.
Okay, so
She's 4, but and mentally she's about 24. Yes.
Sounds like she's a lot.
She's
like
a lot.
A couple of handfuls.
She's several handfuls.
Wonderful. Okay. So if you think about some of the significant events of your life, significant periods of time in your life, and I'll give you like a couple of seconds to think about that. What is one event that comes to mind where you felt or knew that you were particularly cared for or loved or protected?
Well, I'll give you 2. With Anna, which is my 4-year-old, she has this way of kind of just knowing when I need to hear "I love you," and so it's always during the moments when I'm just kind of going through the motions of just kind of day in and day out, everyday things, gigs, life, bills, mommy, and just trying to stay afloat. And it's like those moments where she just goes, "I love you, mommy," that is just kind of like I just know that I'm doing the right thing, even though it feels like it's overwhelming or it's a lot at that moment. It's just that kind of gives me that comfort. And then from my family, with her, Anna, I have her majority of the time by myself. I don't want to say single mom, but I'm a single mom. And the support of my family is just, it's unbelievable. It's unreal. It's like you always know until you know they're there, but you don't really see it until they have to be there. And when they're there, when I really, really need them, that's when they're there. And that's what makes me, know that I have love and I'm cared for. And they care so much that it's not just me. It's extended to my daughter. And they care about her, and they do what they need to do for her as well. So
wonderful. So again, in that same kind of vein of significant events and periods, an event where you knew that you were different in some way, whether different in comparison to other people or just different in understanding who you were, anything like that.
I kind of always knew that I was a little bit different, and my mom kind of instilled that in me and kind of helped me to understand that. Growing up, I stayed busy. It was keep her busy, keep her out of trouble. And when I say I never stopped moving, I was in Christmas play, this performance, I was just always a busybody. That's just kind of how I grew up. And it continued, and that's where I'm at now. I'm always in something, but I love it. That's the type of life that I live. When I don't have anything to do, I'm freaking out. So this is just, I've always known that I was different and a little bit more like, I just have a lot of ambition. I've always had a drive, and it's even more now that I have a 4-year-old that's watching me. My drive is just, it's beyond, because she's watching every single thing, questioning every single thing, and trying to figure it all out. And I just kind of keep it moving, keep the train rolling.
All right. Same context of events and periods, a time where you had a specifically difficult period or some kind of adverse condition, and how you were able to overcome that and become stronger.
Well, I got pregnant senior year of college. I had this dream of, I'm going to go be on a boat. I'm going to dance on a cruise ship until I figure out exactly where I want to go, where I want to live, because I knew Maryland wasn't where I wanted to be. But I was going to give myself, I'm going to go get on a boat, and then found out I was pregnant. And it was tough. It was so tough. I had to, I don't want to say I didn't go through a low moment. It was more so just of a refocusing moment for me. Okay, so how can I do what I love with a kid? How can I finish school? Like, I had so many things going through my head at the same time, but it was also one of those things where I had to accept, no, Megan, that same drive that you have, you need to put it in overdrive. Finish school, graduate, get your degree, continue. And so it wasn't more so of a different life, it was more so of creating a life with her now. Okay, so now how do I do this times 10 with a child? So that was a very, it wasn't a low moment, but it was definitely an adverse one. And then trying to figure out, finances and living conditions, and because I knew that I didn't want to live with my parents with a child. Like, who wants to do that? And so I went through that was pretty adverse for me, just trying to figure out all the whereabouts, future. Of course, you think about the future, but you don't really think about it until you have to, until you have another future that you're responsible for. So it was tough trying to think of my future as well as this now human that I'm bringing into the world. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty tough for me.
So what did you gain from that experience of getting through it, overcoming it, that you feel like makes you a stronger person now?
That it's possible. You always hear, you always see the stories, and you hear about the stories. But I guess when it became personal for me, I was able to really feel the lows, to really feel what it felt like to be like, okay, I have a whole year of college left. What am I going to do? How am I going to get up and go to school? I'm pregnant. It's winter. It's cold. At that point I was commuting. I wasn't even living in Towson. I was driving an hour just to get to class. So it was just that push. And what I got from that was, like, if you have a goal, you have your eye on the prize, you get it done. You make it happen. And that same drive is what I use even now. That same drive is what I use today in everything that I do. Once I get a vision, once I know what I want, I go for it. I do it. I succeed. And it may not be big. I celebrate the little wins. And that's just something that I live by, and it's something that I guess that's really what keeps me going, is celebrating the little things that I get done. My life is a checklist, my whole life. That's how I look at it. My whole life is like a sticky note of different things that I got to finish. And so, just celebrating the small wins, and that's something that I do now, and that's what keeps me grounded. That's what keeps me happy. That's what keeps me pushing.
All right, that's good stuff. So then, switching from events and periods more to some emotional experience or discussion. Mm-hmm. So since this is a depression awareness mm-hmm. project, in thinking of the word sadness, like mm-hmm. what is your personal description of what sadness is?
Sadness is a temporary low. That's how I look at it. It's okay, something didn't go exactly the way you planned. And so you're upset or you're sad. You have some sort of negative connotation or emotion to something that did not happen the way that you thought it through. And that's how I really see sadness.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So in thinking of the word depression, mm-hmm. how would you describe it as it relates to or in comparison to your description of sadness?
Okay, so for me, sadness is something that it'll change. It's you're at a low moment, but then you'll come out of it through something. Depression is it becomes a lifestyle in a sense, in a mind state where you are in this dark, low place that no matter what happens, you still feel it. And it's just kind of something that haunts you. You can't sleep, or, even getting up is hard. And so it becomes a lifestyle. So for me, being depressed or depression, it's a sense of a lifestyle. It's kind of a place that you go to. And sadness is more of just a temporary emotion.
So in thinking about those two terms and how they compare, has there ever been a time in your life where you have felt that you were in a depression, or what is described for, I guess, diagnostic purposes, of a period of 2 weeks or longer where you were in a very sad or depressed state?
I was in a state for about a year. I was depressed for about a year, and it was literally I think it was maybe when Anna was 3. I think she was either 3 or, yeah, she was 3. And I was in a place where I had to accept that I was going to be a single mom. And I got tired of the verbal abuse, got tired of, the fights, the constant back and forth, just the whole thing that comes with just bad relationships. And I got to a place where I was just tired. I knew that I didn't deserve it. I knew that I didn't want Anna to be, to see it anymore, to be around it anymore. And it was more so a decision I had to make, not just for me, but for her as well. And so it was a very low place. I had to move back with my parents. I had to accept that, I wasn't able to be independent completely at that moment. I was kind of running through jobs. I hated every job that I had. I was dancing as much as I could to keep some sort of, groundness, because that was the only thing that kept me happy. But I was just trying to stay afloat, trying to keep money, trying to keep the income coming in, because I was literally doing it all by myself. And granted, your family is there, but who wants to keep asking? I'm a mom now. I have my own family, and the way I looked at that, I beat myself up constantly because I was in such a low place, and there was nothing that I could do to change it.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And so it's just situations, conversations like this that people can share their own life experiences and what they've learned, so that people who do have other experiences of depression can relate and know that they're not alone, and that it's something that doesn't make them separate from other people, because we all have something similar.
We all go through life.
Right, something that has happened, or a series of things that have happened, and that's part of the human experience. And so thank you for sharing, about your life and how that may help someone overcome feeling stigmatized, or feeling like they can't reach out or can't access support because of struggling with an emotional condition. So thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Yay.
That was great. That was actually a little therapeutic by itself. Thank you, doctor.